Have you ever noticed it's quite easily to know what you want until someone you love wants something different? When you're alone, you're clear. You know what feels right. You know what you need. You know what doesn't sit well with you. But then you're with your partner, or talking with your mother, or someone you deeply care about asks something of you. And suddenly, everything feels blurry. You hear yourself saying yes when every part of you wanted to say no. You explain yourself instead of simply telling the truth. And you tell yourself it's not worth making this into a thing. Or I don't want to disappoint them. Or maybe I'll bring it up another time. And then afterwards, you're sitting alone, thinking, why didn't I just say what I really felt? I promised myself I wouldn't do this again. How do I keep ending up here? And I don't think this happens because you don't know your truth. I think it happens because the moment someone you love becomes involved, something much deeper begins happening inside of you. And in this video, I want to show you what that is. Because once you understand it, you stop blaming yourself. And you finally understand why it has always felt so difficult to remain yourself in the relationships that matter most. Most people think the problem is that they need better boundaries or they need more confidence. But I don't think that's the real problem. Because if confidence were the answer, why do so many intelligent, capable people suddenly struggle to tell the truth to the people they love? Something else is happening. And once you see it, you never look at your relationships the same way again. I think most of us don't lose ourselves because we stop knowing what is true. We lose ourselves because our attention quietly moves away from ourselves. Think about what happens the moment a relationship starts asking something of you. Maybe your partner wants something different, or your mother expects you to visit, or a friend that needs you, and you can already feel someone will be disappointed by your answer. And without even noticing, your attention shifts. And instead of asking yourself, what feels true for me? You begin asking, how do I keep this relationship okay? How can I say this without hurting them? Or maybe I should wait. Or you're wondering whether you're asking too much. Or you know they've been struggling. And the relationship quietly becomes the thing you're protecting. And while you're protecting the relationship, you slowly stop protecting your own truth. That's why afterwards it feels like you've disappeared. Not because you didn't know what was true, but because your attention was no longer with yourself. But here's what I think nobody talks about. You're not actually afraid of telling the truth. You're afraid of what telling the truth might do to the relationship. And those are two completely different things. Because somewhere along the way, many of us learned something without anyone ever saying it out loud. We learned that connection depends on keeping the other person okay. So when your mother is hurting, you immediately want to make it lighter. When your partner is disappointed, you immediately start explaining yourself. When someone has expectations of you, you immediately begin negotiating with what you already know is true. And this happens not because you're weak or because you're a people pleaser, but because your body learned that keeping the relationship together was more important than staying connected to yourself. That's why it feels almost impossible. You're not choosing between saying yes or no. Your body believes you're choosing between your truth and the relationship. And if that's what your body believes, of course you'll keep choosing the relationship. And this has nothing to do with not valuing yourself. It is because you value love. But here's the paradox: the more you protect the relationship by leaving yourself, the less of you remains inside the relationship. And eventually, you find yourself asking a painful question: does anyone actually know me? And I don't think the answer is becoming harder or putting stronger boundaries or caring less. It is not about choosing yourself instead of the people you love, because life isn't that simple. Some relationships will become healthier when you start telling the truth. Some relationships will resist it. Some people may never be able to meet you there, and that can be painful. But I think the real invitation is something much deeper. It's learning to stay with yourself while staying with someone else. To listen to your mother's pain without leaving your own. To hear your partner's disappointment without talking yourself out of what you know is true. To allow someone else to have expectations without making those expectations the place from which you decide how to live. Because the goal isn't to control the relationship. The goal is that you no longer disappear inside it. And I think that is what real love asks from us. Not that we become less of ourselves, but that we learn to remain with ourselves, even when love becomes uncomfortable. If this resonated with you, then what you've seen today is only one piece of a much bigger picture. Because disappearing in relationships isn't just about relationships. It's a pattern that slowly shapes every area of your life. It shapes the work you choose, the dreams you postpone, the opportunities you don't take, and eventually the life you end up living. In this video, I show you the bigger picture. I show you why we slowly negotiate ourselves out of our own lives and what it actually means to begin living in a way that feels deeply true to who you are. And if you're ready for that, you can watch it here.